Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried & Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
And we're back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Once again, my gratitude and love for you is something that I cannot describe. Thank you so much for supporting me, believing in me, and sharing this with so many people. We're helping a lot of people and saving lives. We truly are, so thank you for doing that. I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsors, Siegfried & Jensen, Thread Wallets, Wasatch Recovery, Mountain Spine and Orthopedics, Mountain West Spine and Orthopedics, and Living Interventions Recovery. Thank you so much for supporting this. You guys are the best, and believing in me, and that means a lot, and that's made this possible. Today we're joined by a good friend of mine, someone that I've got to know over the last several years and been a part of his amazing organization, Mitch Frei. Mitch, thanks for joining us.
Hey, I'm beyond excited to be here.
Yeah, this is so cool.
Be here.
Yeah. Well, I've been fortunate enough. I got invited to be a keynote speaker at one of your events for Aptive and all your high-level salespeople there, and that was just one of the greatest to this day at Pirates Cove. It was truly one of the greatest experiences on my career, honestly.
Yeah, I had a cousin, Chandler Bergen, who knew Todd and said, hey, we should have him come speak. And I was like, yeah, cool. Another speaker, awesome. Todd showed up, flew into Vegas. We flew him in and just blew us away. I mean, that was, you nailed it with what you said. It was, I have, employees that still talk about it today, that the impact was unreal.
Wow. Well, and I've been fortunate enough to work with some of your team off and on with some people who are struggling from time to time. You kind of hired me as one of their coaches, so to speak, for the kids who are struggling, and that's been a fun thing for me. And to see these kids grow and fight through that negative story that they're telling themselves and that kind of thing. So it's been fun. A little background on Mitch. He's the VP of Sales at Aptive, which is the largest door-to-door pest control company in the nation. I did not know that. You've been there for 10 years. I guess once you were introduced to door-to-door sales while you were in college, you became obsessed.
Yeah.
Right? Like the competition, the challenge, the opportunity, the leadership, connections, mentorship, opened up your eyes to a world that you didn't really realize was out there.
Yeah, the challenge of it and the opportunity. To me, it's the full package, and it'll test you, it'll try you in every way. And if you can learn to get really good at it, you reap the reward is awesome for sure.
Yeah, door-to-door sales is no joke. That's not an easy thing to do.
No, I do interviews and I tell people, I'm like, hey, I'm telling you, it's the hardest thing you're ever going to do. And I try to tell them that. And when they get out there, it's next level. It's the elite of sales for sure. For sure. Yeah. Last year, your group generated over $25 million in revenue. Wow. That is amazing. You've personally made over $1 million yourself. You live in St. George, right? Currently? Yep, St. George, Utah.
Your beautiful wife and kids, and they obviously support what you do there. You and your wife have used this success and have, got into real estate and bought some land in St. George. Your passion is to inspire and give back, to show people that you're capable of so much more than you think. Yep. That's one thing I love that we've, what I found when I came and spoke at your group, just the way you carry yourself and how much what the kids say about you, truly, because I get a lot of one-on-one and you're not around. Yeah. And what they say about you is really impressive. You obviously are a mentor, and they look up to you and they're like, man, I want to be like that guy.
Well, that's good to hear, because I'm normally getting on them, So.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you're tough, but they realize that's how it has to be and that kind of thing. And so, so why don't we get started? There's a lot to talk about. You're more than just this guy that works at Aptive. You're a lot more than that, and we want to get into that. So why don't we start with just where you grew up? Tell us about your childhood.
Yeah,
a little bit.
No, great question. So I was born and raised in St. George, Utah. My mom and dad are my heroes, and I have 3 brothers, 2 older, 1 younger. So always a bloodbath and sports and competition and
For sure.
Yeah, anything that you could think of.
So real quick, why are your mom and dad your heroes?
Just because they live a standard and how they carry themselves, integrity, honesty, like the things they taught me early on that as a kid you don't really listen or you almost push back against. And then as you get older, you start to realize, whoa, like they are next level in how they operate and the examples that they are in life.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when we're kids, we don't realize the lessons we're being taught by our parents until later, and we go, man, so grateful they taught me that.
100%.
But when you're going through it, you're like, leave me alone.
100%. Yeah, and that's how growing up and going through high school, it was hard to see exactly what you just said. So, but no, my brothers are like model brothers. I mean, growing up a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I don't think they ever even got in trouble. Right?
Right.
So I have my two older brothers, and I'm like I got labeled like the black sheep after, more jokingly, but
right.
But no, essentially they paved a path that was, I mean, they were dang near perfect,
Yeah.
Straight A students, never got in trouble. So I grew up and had an awesome, I mean, I'm a huge sports guy. Played basketball, football, baseball. I was the starting quarterback. I excelled in basketball. First team all, region.
Nice.
And had a lot of looks going, into college. But we'll backtrack and essentially, I think like most, you get into high school and it just takes get around the wrong people. And it started when I was 16 with just drinking at parties, right? So I just start drinking, and I had 2 times where the cops came in and busted us, and I got 2 minor in consumptions. So I had to call my dad, make up a lie.
Yeah.
And
I was just there at the party.
I was just drinking. There. I didn't know there was anything in the drink, and he had to come pick me up from the cops. So and then I got on the radar as far as like the court system after my second one. And then going into my senior year, I'm the starting quarterback, and I dust off that you clean computers off with, right?
Oh yeah.
So how you can huff that?
Yep.
So I had a buddy who's like, dude, it's freaking awesome. Like, it just makes you go crazy. So anyway, me and one of my best friends, we start huffing it, and I drove. We get up and we're going to sell our little spirit packets, to raise money. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize it, but I thought I was fine after a few minutes. I ended up passing out in the truck while I'm driving.
Oh, wow.
Drove my truck off a 40-foot cliff. So we were both ejected. Like, miracle that we're alive.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was insane.
So obviously, I mean, that's another... I'm sure cops had to show up for that scene.
Yeah, so this is the craziest part. So I tell the coach, I said, hey, no, I just dehydrated, like I fell asleep. And it was like 3 weeks later, I'm like, holy cow, they're like going with this. Like nobody knows there was dust off.
Like you're right? Like, I got away with it.
Yeah, like I got away with this. And I show up one day coming home to my house, and there's a cop at my house. And he sets a recorder down.
Oh boy.
And he starts recording me, and they found out, rumors spread. So anyway, I end up having to go back to court, and it was kind of a long process, but I got assigned like 7 weekends in juvie.
Wow.
For that. And
oh man.
This was during like my senior year of senior basketball. So on the weekends, I would go check into juvie for the weekend. So I'd have to go early Saturday morning into Monday and then come back. But even backtracking to that, as big of a thing that was, driving my truck off the cliff, that I didn't learn, right? So I started with drinking, and then of course, the weed shows up. You start smoking weed. And then eventually, what else I tell guys, what's after that? Right?
Yeah.
And then, heroin showed up. And I start doing painkillers. every day I started looking back, and it's kind of crazy because you start to normalize everything.
Yeah.
When
Right.
you get into the cycle of drug abuse, and it's normal, and you have it under control, right?
Yeah.
And every day, like, it got to the point where, weekends, what are we doing this weekend? Let's go find, like, what are we going to take, right?
Yeah.
And it was Oxycontin, it was painkillers, it was drinking. It was everything, right, on the weekend. And then it started going every day. Like, I tell people, my senior year, I don't think there was a day that I didn't go to high school.
High.
Where it was high.
Yeah.
Every day.
Did your parents know that something was up, or did they just kind of like, I mean, you hit it well as best you could, I guess, but did they know what was going on?
I think they, obviously after the minors, and I drove my truck off the cliff, and then there was other signs where I don't know if they were kind of in denial or I did a good job hiding it, but they knew something was up. Like, they knew I was messing around and doing stuff. They just didn't know to what extent.
Yeah.
Right. That it got that crazy. I remember in football, but basketball especially, my junior year, I started smoking weed, and then I'd go to games just totally baked, right? Like, we'd go, and
right.
I had two kids from Vegas moved in that were really good at basketball, but they were like the marijuana, like almost dealers. Like, they had everything. And then my senior year, I graduated and kept doing more harder stuff.
Yeah, right.
And I would play games. I remember playing a game where I had smoked heroin a couple hours before, and after the first quarter, I still remember I went and threw up all over the floor. I was trying to run to the hallway. I didn't make it.
Oh, man.
And no one had any idea. Like, I'd still go out, and I still think that game I had 20 points.
So again, you're still being successful in it. So you're not really going, well, this is a bad thing. So overall, right? Yeah. You're getting away with it.
Oh, exactly.
At least you think you are.
Like, I'm having fun. I'm getting away with it. And life's going good, like, once again, you start to normalize, and when you get high, like, that's, I don't know, just it's what you thrive for. That's what I was like living for. A lot of it was pressure and
I was going to ask you, your older brothers were very high level, excelled.
Yep.
Did good things. They were like the model child. Did that put a lot of pressure on you? Did you feel like, man, I got to try to be like them, but I can't? Or
yeah, no, it put pressure because, like, all the teachers at the high school were like, Blake and Blair, they were awesome, and they were this and that. And so there's definitely, pressure, indirect pressure of that I should be as good,
Well, I think that happens a lot with the youngest, especially it's like, man, I gotta live up to their reputation that they've built.
For sure.
And even subconsciously, maybe you didn't go, well, I got to live up to them, but you were trying to, probably without you even realizing it.
Yep. I ain't got to the point where I'm like, I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to do me, and I don't care what people think. And I was, I just look back, I'm like, I was crazy. Like, that was not normal stuff. Like, that's not normal high school behavior.
No. To
go do stuff every day in high school. Like, I did not show up a day where I was not either had drank, done something, know?
So things had to have been getting worse, though. I mean, you start doing hardcore drugs, and you're doing them on a daily basis. I would imagine towards the end of your senior year, things were not going well.
No.
At least
so they're not going super well. And once again, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm going to stop. I'll be done. Yeah. Like, I got control of this. And we go on I'm playing baseball now, and we go on a trip, and it's 420, and we're in Vegas in a tournament. My buddy's like, dude, it's 420,
it's
right?
420.
So we end up smoking in our hotel room, and other teammates found out, and anyway, got back to the coaches, and the coaches came into our room, and we were smoking out of a can, and they found it. And on a school trip, smoking weed, that doesn't go well, right? Yeah. So called our parents. They had to come pick us up, and I ended up getting expelled.
Man.
So that ended up getting expelled from high school, and I couldn't walk. I had to go do packets at it's called Mill Creek, like the school once you're not in an actual high school, you know.
How did your parents handle that, coming to pick you up? And
so this is crazy. So, actually, I got a ride home. They didn't come pick me up. They gave me permission to drive home. And my dad's next level, and my mom is same as far as their love. And I'll never forget. Because I'd already got in trouble a lot. My dad's like, just be honest. I'm like, Dad, I promise I'll be honest with you. Right? Like, and anyway, I get home and he looks at me and we sit down and he said, son, like, the only thing I care about is honesty. And you weren't honest. Like, that's it. That's all I care about. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And he didn't lose his temper. It was a learning lesson of integrity and honesty, and how disappointed and hurt he was. Right. And as my punishment, he said, you're going to go with your grandpa and you're going to go work on the farm in Penguin, Utah, and for the next couple months. And so I was, building fence and working on the farm. Like, that's what I did.
At this point, were you clean? Did you just, at that point, was that the wake up call to go, okay, I got to stop using? And
so
now that I'm in trouble?
So still at this point, I drove my truck off the cliff. I'd been to juvie. I ended up getting expelled from high school. And at this point, you think that would have been the wake up call. And of course it wasn't. I didn't have any, the crazy thing, I didn't have another big episode. I'd only a couple more times that I'd, after that, it was shortly after. I remember, this is kind of a crazy story, but I'm sitting there and I'm smoking a cigarette and drinking at an apartment and at a townhome. And I realize, I start looking around and it just hits me like a ton of bricks. Like, oh my gosh, like, look who I'm with. Right. Like, it was a rough crowd.
Yeah.
Like, rough. And I don't know, smoking a cigarette to me was, and I hadn't done that a lot. And it was kind of just disgusting to me. And it just hit me like, I'm so much better in this,
Yeah.
Like, I'm so much better in this. So I remember I went home and I said a prayer, and I just said, hey, Heavenly Father, like, please give me strength to, like, I'm done. Like, give me strength to never be around it, be tempted to associate myself with the people that are doing this. The craziest thing, what I've never seen to this day again? Marijuana. Like, to this day, after that, never, like, once I made the decision, and once again with the help of God and my family, like, I've never seen any of that. Like that.
Just like that. Wow.
Like, it's the most insane thing to me that, boom, I made the decision, never hung out with them unless we're in, like, a group setting playing basketball, right?
Yeah.
And they're still my friends.
Sure.
But that's, the takeaway is that.
Yeah.
Like, you play with fire, you're going to get burned.
Totally. It's beautiful about that moment you had when you're like, what am I doing? I'm better than this.
Yeah.
Look where I'm at. The Greeks call that a kairos moment. Kairos is a transformational moment in time. It's like a tap on a shoulder, and it's like something, a deity or a God whispering in your ear going, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And that's really yes, you went and prayed and did all that, which is beautiful part of the story. But I think where the transformational moment came was when you were sitting there going, what am I doing? In Luke 15, it talks about the prodigal son. And in, I think it's verse 18, it says, and he came to himself, when he's going to put that slop in his mouth.
Yeah. And
he came to himself. The late Neil A. Maxwell says that's a sacred moment in time. It was that moment right then, like, what am I doing? That's what awesome. You had.
For sure.
Isn't that amazing?
No, 100%.
And I share this because anyone listening to this right now, we get these moments that are like these wake up calls, if you want to call it. Greeks call it the kairos moment. It's the tap on the shoulder. Hey, what are you doing? Go this route because this will save your life instead of killing yourself, kind of thing.
No, that's 100%. Like, it's cool to hear. I mean, the
that's
knowledge behind it, right?
Yeah.
And I had that, and you talk about even like the killing yourself. Like, I look back at my high school pictures where there's 6 homies, 6 of us together.
Yeah.
2 of them are gone. 3 of them.
Wow.
Like, legitimate gone, like overdosed. My really good high school buddies. Like, that's how crazy. It's just a decision.
Yes.
And it's one way or the other.
Yeah. And unfortunately, sometimes we ignore that moment.
Yep.
When that moment comes and we ignore it and we try to, and you probably have had several of those moments where you ignored it.
100%.
And you're lucky to be alive yourself, to be honest.
Oh, it's just like, oh my gosh.
I mean, huffing that stuff and driving off a cliff. I mean, like you said, you shouldn't be here.
No. Like my mom says I have like 15 lives.
Yeah. Well, I always say this to my clients, that addiction is the wake-up call to your greatness. And people are like, what? Because I think when we're struggling with, you can call it adversity. Adversity is the wake-up call to your greatness. I mean, look at what you're doing now and how the influence you're having on these kids that work for you. Because you're not just their boss.
Yeah.
You're their mentor. You're their leader. You're their shoulder to cry on. You're that person. Hey, I'm struggling. Will you help me? Kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's so much more.
Oh.
And I think that's why you're so good at what you do. Because had you not gone through that, it's almost like that was the wake up call to your greatness. You're so much better than this.
No, it's
and now the greatness is coming out.
It's amazing to look back at it. And you've said it 100 times, like you would with addiction. What would you say to addiction?
I would thank it.
You'd thank it.
I'd
Give it a hug. You'd hug it, right? Like, I love how you say that. And no, I look back, and my wife's like, even my wife's like, I'm just glad that you learned and and so with our kids and with the people I work with a lot of 18 to 24-year-olds.
Yeah.
That I mean, my goodness, that's like the addiction and vices and those things, drugs and alcohol. That's the biggest struggle out there.
Oh yeah.
And when tough times get hard, when knocking doors and it's stressful and you're not making sales, guess what a lot of people turn to? And that's in life. When people are struggling, they go to those things for the temporary relief. Yep. And so being able to not only recognize it, but to relate, it's dynamite. Like, I'm extremely grateful to have gone through it and obviously made it through it. Yeah. To where I can utilize it.
Yeah. Wow. I love the things that your parents taught you: honesty, integrity. I'm going to add accountability and helping people. Those are the 4 principles I share with my clients day one.
That's awesome.
Like, I have clients, we're coming live right now from Wasatch Recovery. This is an inpatient facility for people who struggle with addiction and or mental health. And on day one, I'll have them write down, and I've done this with your crew there, with your company. I am what I repeatedly do, and I have them write down those 4 things: be honest, have integrity, be accountable, help someone. And I'll tell people, you came here looking for an answer to your problems, and they're like, yeah. And I go, I just gave it to you, and they're like, really?
It's awesome.
And it's almost like it seems so simple, but yet those principles are so powerful. Like your dad was saying, I just need you to be honest with me, period. I don't care about anything else. Just be honest, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, how has that principle helped you move forward in life? Just being honest.
It's, because I deal with, and once again, kind of relating this to my work, like I deal with so many people that I'm like, dude, just be honest. Like, I know you're not actually knocking. Like, just be honest, right?
I've been sleeping until noon,
Oh my gosh. It's like the joy between that comes from, integrity and being honest.
Yeah.
And to the contrary, when you're not, you just go down a rabbit hole.
Yep.
And you don't stop.
Yep.
And everything's better.
Yeah.
For everyone.
Yep.
When you're just honest.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a simple principle, but so powerful.
simple too. But on the flip side, if you're not being honest, how destructive that is to your own mental health.
Oh, for sure.
You don't sleep. You're constantly trying to remember what you said. You're stressed. You feel anxious.
100%.
I mean, it just opens up this can of worms, right?
Yeah. And yeah, to your, mostly to yourself, but to others too. Like, it's just, man, just be honest.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it's.
I love that.
Yeah. So good how you teach those principles.
No, I love that. Well, so you go through all this, you have this moment where you're like, man, what am I doing? You pray. You never kind of look back at that point, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to start living right, doing the things I should. So what happened after that? And then how did you come to this obsession we talked about in the beginning about, wanting to do maybe door to door and just going out and earning a living and helping people?
Yeah. So after that, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and my brothers had served missions for the church. And I mean, I started looking at it. I'm like, oh, man, like I can't, like that just doesn't seem fun, obviously. Right. And going and
yeah, right.
Like leaving home. But at the same time I looked at it, I'm like, I don't know anyone who's served a mission for the church hasn't come back and said, man, that was the best 2 years of my life.
Right.
So I ended up serving a mission. I went to Brazil for 2 years. Incredible experience. And the takeaway with serving a mission is all you do is serve.
Yeah.
That's it. Like you wake up and you serve. Like I'm just doing service projects for 2 years.
Yeah.
And talking about Christ. Like that's all you do. I'm like, that was amazing. No stress. Just serve.
Yeah.
And so it greatly impacted my life in so many ways. So I came back from a mission, and I ended up going and playing basketball at Snow College. I met my wife there, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who serve, who are missionaries that end up going into the door-to-door sales space.
Yeah. Because they're already good at knocking doors.
Handled a lot of rejection. They already knock doors. They're hard workers. And that's like the secret combination to being good at door-to-door sales. So I had buddies who'd gone out in the summer and made, $30,000.
Jeez.
Where if you were to work at home and hourly, work at the car wash, you're going to make $5,000. So I get married and I am broke. Like we have no money. Poor college kid living on Pell Grants, playing college basketball, and my summer's free. I'm like, all right, we're going to drive across the country to Kansas City. And anyway, my first day selling, I go out and I sign 3 people up. I'm just going talking about bugs, about pest control, saying, hey, if we'll do it really cheap. And so I going back to your question of the obsession, when looking at addiction and the struggles, it's like you almost need a different out, right? Like you need to occupy your mind. You need healthy getaways. Like you need things to channel
for sure. Yeah.
Your mind and your energy. And anyway, so I'm a super competitive person. So sales was it. Like from the competitive side to the challenge, the ups and downs of it. And then it's like, man, if I can get really good at this, I can make a ton of money.
Yeah.
And that could open a lot of doors
for sure.
But for my family to give back, I mean, I just saw it, and it hit me once again, like a ton of bricks, where I'm like, I have to take advantage of this. Like I'm going to outwork everyone.
Wow.
And get really, really good at it.
It's been 10 years now, right?
Yeah. 12.
Roughly.
Yeah. Almost 12 years.
Almost 12 now.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. So at first, I'm sure it was challenging, and maybe even your wife was like, what are we doing? I don't know. Was she all into, or was she like,
yeah, she's
hey,
like,
go get it.
She's like, she's like, I trust you. But my father-in-law was even like,
your father was like, what's he doing?
Yeah. Driving across the country with no money in the bank account, so definitely some people second guessing,
Sure.
what I was doing. But no, and once again, my dad taught me about real estate. And when you start learning about assets, and the difference between assets and liabilities, and Rich Dad Poor Dad is one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
By Robert Kiyosaki, just on business and general business.
Sure.
And okay, man, if you can get money to buy assets, you're going to really have the opportunity to create financial freedom.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most people want.
Sure. Yeah, at the end of the day, we all want that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be able to travel, make memories, and be able to give back. Like that's, I think, one of the more, I could say, underrated, not talked about things about being financially free is the opportunity to give back in time and money.
Yeah.
And how amazing that is.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing that you've gone, you've been so successful at it. I think we mentioned you raised over $25 million in revenue for your company at Aptive, which is amazing. There's a lot to talk about there, but I think one of the things I'd love to talk about is, you have a bunch of these, I keep calling them kids. They're adults, but they're kids in my mind, but you're helping these people not only go sell, but you're also mentoring just about life. And what's been cool is I've been, part of your team
I love
for the last little while, right? Which has been kind of fun. But what are some of these things that you really want these kids to do? Obviously, you want them to be successful at the door, but what else are you hoping that these people that work under you get out of this experience?
So I love that you can relate, because I text you last week and I said, Todd, you are the GOAT, right? Because it's such an up and down job where you jump on calls and literally help, the people navigate through the ups and downs. And no, what I tell, even when I'm doing an interview, I say, if you can get good at this job and learn to navigate the highs and the lows.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have highs where you feel like you are a sales god.
Yeah.
You go out, you sell 5 in a day, you come back, and then you're going to have days where you get 0.
Yeah.
And it is hard.
Yep.
Because your buddy got 5.
Yep. Yeah.
And you start comparing.
Yep.
Right. And then the self-doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
And so if you can learn to navigate highs and lows, I'm like, guess what life's full of? Highs and lows.
Yeah.
That's it. Like highs and lows.
Yep.
So if you can learn to stay in the middle and navigate those in the summer, I'm like, I promise you'll get really good at life. Because you're going to get a lot of curveballs your way. You're going to have a lot of cool things that happen, but don't get too high, don't get too low. Like, of course, celebrate them, learn from them, and got to keep moving forward. So no, I love my job for that reason. It really teaches so much that's applicable to life.
Well, and you think about missions, and for those who maybe don't know what a mission is, in the LDS religion, they go out for 2 solid years. It's a long time to go out and knocking on doors and serving and helping people. And outside of the spiritual side of things, you learn discipline. You learn having doors slammed in your face. You learn about people being a lot of rejection. You learn how to work hard, and you realize you can do hard things. And that's really what door-to-door sales is.
100%.
Right? And so how great to learn those lessons, because it helps you in every area of life.
100%.
Really, right?
Yep.
And highs and lows in life, we all have them, and, celebrate the good times and, stand strong in the times that feel hard.
No, 100%. And that's, once again, I think looking back at everything, and from my childhood up to where I am now, and everything that I've learned, and then have an opportunity to do door-to-door sales and what it's taught me, and serving a mission, like you said, and learning the discipline, learning work ethic. You just got to learn to love hard work. And the other thing is you got to learn to do things that are uncomfortable. Like that's where growth is. Growth is on the other side of being uncomfortable. Yeah. Right. Doing things that aren't in your comfort zone. So I wake up, I take a cold shower. I don't like taking cold shower, but you learn to love them. Yeah. Right. You learn, I'm running a marathon this year. I've never ran more than 3 miles, but that's more just to mentally push myself and
love that.
Do things that are hard.
Yeah. I'm doing the Spartan on Saturday.
So cool.
And it's my second time doing it. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life personally. And I'm looking forward to it. But again, it's uncomfortable. Yep. And it's a challenge. And, and I think that's why the boys look up to you, is because you're that guy. You don't just tell these kids how to do things, you live it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I think it's hard to tell anyone to do anything 100%, which, I mean, it's kind of common sense, but how many people actually tell people to do stuff and they don't do it, right?
They don't do it. Yeah.
So if you want true respect and if you want to be a legitimate leader and influence, you got to live what you teach.
Yeah.
I tell people you got to walk the walk, right? You can't just talk. Talk can only get you so far.
Exactly. In the trenches, and that's you. And the reason why I know that is I've been around you for a few years now. I've seen it myself, but just listening to your team and these kids that I get on these calls with just talk about you and where they're at. And I always just ask, hey, what do you think of where you're at and who you're working for? I'll always ask that question. It's just interesting to hear what they say. And without fail, they're like, awesome. I love it.
And I'm obsessed with this. I'm obsessed with helping. Like I'm obsessed. I love my job because I get to help.
Yeah.
And I get to watch people transform and learning to help them navigate through highs and lows and essentially being a teacher.
So what are some principles you live by and that you share with your team and maybe even your family and your own kids? And you said your parents are your heroes for certain reasons. What are some of the things you've already shared some, but is there some things that you'd like to share that?
Yeah. So I think some principles is that it was a professor at Snow College, and I've kind of lived by it. I love it. Life is all people. And
I like that.
What that means is like, why have bad relationships?
Yeah.
Like life is all about people, about connections, about family, about friends.
Yeah.
And he'd always say that. He'd say, hey guys, life is all people,
I like that a lot.
It's one thing that always stuck with me. And then another one is how you do anything is how you do everything. Right. And it's not to say you're going to be perfect by any means, but when the lights aren't on you and people aren't watching you, what are you doing? And that's a test of true character.
Love that.
Is when people aren't watching you. And then, like I said, there's so many influencers, people that have truly inspired me and helped me. Todd, you have taught me, like talking to our group about anxiety and stress, like just even recently that you came on and talked to us about stress and depression and how it's all, you're a lot of times with stress, you're worrying about the future, right? Yeah. Like why? Like quit stressing and tripping, like quit future tripping.
Yeah, we have to learn to control our thoughts around the future. Yes. Yeah.
And then quit worrying about the past.
Yeah.
Like the past in the past. Right. And so many of us get stuck in tripping about the future or stuck in the past, but just be present.
Yeah.
And then the other two influencers are big people that I'm really into and just studying their lives. Kobe Bryant.
Oh yeah.
Like talk about a work ethic, a maniac.
Yeah.
When it comes in Ed Milet, his podcast, if you know Ed Milet, but just he recently did one with someone who trained Kobe Bryant, and it's just unreal, like how he approached basketball in life. More, I mean, a lot of it's just basketball, but he would he'd wake up at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
and he'd go through the basics, and and at this point he was already world champion, but every day.
Yeah.
3:30 in the morning to get an extra workout in than everyone else.
Yep. I'm going to outwork everybody.
Outwork everyone.
Yeah.
And that's the other one. Outwork everyone. Like those are life is all people. How you do anything is how you do everything, and just outwork everyone.
Yeah.
A kid texted me and he said that this was 2 weeks ago. He said, hey, how, like to be great, like greatness in this job. I said, when you're undeniably the hardest worker, you're on the right path.
Well, and again, how simple that principle is. Work hard.
Yep.
I work at a treatment center here, and the people who put in the work get what they came here for. The people that don't put in the work, we can say all the same things. We can teach them all the same things. We can walk the walk with them.
Yep.
But the ones that won't put in the work, they get a result, but it's not the one they say they wanted. But the ones that will put in the work, they get it.
It's crazy. It applies to everything.
Well, think of Kobe. He put in the work, and therefore he became Kobe.
Yep. He became great.
Honestly. He was amazing. Why? Because he worked his tail off.
It's actually crazy. If you look at his rookie year, he was not good. Like he did not have
wasn't
an
good at all.
outstanding rookie year. Like
No,
no one looked back and
Didn't he?
realized.
Was that the? Remember he hucked up like 4 air balls here in Utah.
Yeah, against the Jazz.
Against
His
the
rookie
Jazz.
year.
Was that rookie year?
Yes.
Yeah, and
like he could not hit the rim.
you're just thinking, man, this kid's not very good.
Yeah, like could be a bust.
Yeah, could be a bust. But
And
nope.
no, work ethic is it. And I tell work ethic, it's just effort, attitude, and have fun. Like people always call me and a lot of my reps and they're like, give me some advice. I'm like, dude, you're not gonna like. Of course I talk to them, but I'm like, at the end of the day, it's work ethic. How's your attitude?
Mm-hmm.
And go have fun.
Yeah.
Like make it fun.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like you can make anything fun.
You can.
I don't care what you're doing. If you're a garbage guy, you can make it have fun.
Yeah.
Like it's all how you approach it and your attitude. And then you've taught a ton about gratitude to us and our group, which is it's going to play a crucial role in how you approach life.
For sure. Wow, I love those principles. Thank you for sharing that. That's so well said. And again, you do practice what you preach, Mitch, and I'm really impressed with you and the way you carry yourself. Grateful to be part of the team. Oh,
it's I texted you last week. I'm like, the impact you've had on not just me, but the group. It's every time you do a call with us, I'm like, gosh, Todd is so good.
Oh man, well, thank you. That means a lot. And but yeah, it's just great to be a part of what you guys are doing, and I'm glad to help when I can, and to help you guys be successful. But more importantly, helping each individual realize that they're okay. I mean, I think that's part of what you were just saying. It's like
100%.
We're all stressed about all this stuff. It's like, whoa, slow it down. You're
Just
fine.
relax.
Everything's good.
Just relax.
You're good.
Be present.
Yeah.
No, like it's once again going back to my personal experience. It's just a choice, and everyone has greatness in them.
Yeah. And
at times, I mean, you on a lot of your podcasts, it's people just don't see it.
Yeah.
But it's there.
It's so there. I mean, I heard once. I share this a lot too now, is human beings are the only life form that will settle for less. And I think we don't think we're great or we can't be that. And what makes the difference is that what you just said is putting in the work. Put in the work, you'll get it. I mean, it's not just like that's why you became obsessed with door-to-doors, and look at you. Look where you're at now. You're 100%. Running your whole regions. Yeah. It's amazing.
No, it's fun. That's the secret sauce. People are like, give me the secret sauce. I'm like, dude, outwork everyone.
Yeah, and everyone wants more than that. They're like, well, no, I know that, but what else? Yeah. No, it's that. And 100%. It just comes down to that, guys.
And get the right help, get the right mentorship, right? And there's a lot of little things along that you can do. Not even little things. Those are big things. Mm-hmm. A coach, a mentor, a counselor. Like there's so much that there's so many things like that you can do that are going to take you to another level.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Well, so if people wanted to reach out to you and know more about what you do, or if they even want to be part of your team, they want to come out and, do what you're doing and be a part of what you're doing, what's the best way for them to reach out to you and get to know you better and all that stuff?
No, great question. So via Instagram, right, which you'll see, Todd, you can put it on.
Yep, I'll put it on there. Yeah, it'll be on all the show notes.
Yep,
for sure.
So via Instagram, and I don't know, there's so many social media platforms that can distract you nowadays. Where I like TikTok. I don't even download a lot of them because I'm like, it's just a time waster.
Yep.
For so many of us, but Instagram is one that I use, and Facebook. So those are two that you could reach out to me. And like I said, any questions, anything that you have, I'm more than. Yeah, I'd love to help or answer any questions if anyone has anything.
Okay. We'll put that on all the show notes. One last question I want to ask you, and I usually ask this with all my guests. If there's someone listening to your voice right now who's in a dark place and struggling, you've already shared some amazing things, which would be great. But this one person right now who's in a dark place listening to you right now, what would you tell them?
I would tell them you're one decision away. Like you're right there. I promise you that you're loved, and people care about you more than you realize.
Yeah.
And it's not a simple decision because it's just a decision.
Yeah.
of, hey, I can, like, you can do this. You have the ability. I promise. Like that's what I would say. I promise you, if you get the right, surround yourself with the right people that aren't doing the things that you know, the temptations and the things that you're struggling with. Get rid of those.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with the right people.
Love
And
that.
yeah, you can do it. Like, you can.
You're one decision away. I love that.
Like, one decision away.
So true. It's so true. And I echo what you're saying to anyone listening to this. You're one decision away. And if you're struggling, reach out to Mitch. He'll help you. That's what he does. Reach out to me. I will help you. You guys know that. And anyone who's listening to this that has a loved one who's struggling, share this episode with them. Share this. Mitch has shared some amazing principles with us. He's got an amazing story. He lives an amazing life. And he's nothing special in the sense that, you know, he's got some magic power that we don't have. He's just putting in the work, and he's celebrating the successes, and he's standing strong when things aren't going so well. That's what life is. And so we're grateful to have Mitch as an example to all of us. And Mitch, I can't thank you enough for
thanks for having
being
me
on the show, man. This has been great.
No,
Yeah.
You're amazing, Todd. I appreciate you letting me come on. And
Absolutely. No, you're great. Mitch Frei, everybody, VP of Sales at Aptive. Please reach out to him. Like I said, you'll see it in the show notes on how to get a hold of him. Check out his organization. Check out what he does. Or if you just want to ask him a question, he'll take good care of you. But I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Please share this with, like I said, anyone that you know that might be struggling. And I appreciate your support. And Mitch, one last thank you for being on the show.
hey, appreciate it, Todd.